We have got one of these DeLorean e-bikes. We saw these get super popular. They're blowing these things out. HSN. So if you guys have heard of HSN, it's a lot like an Amazon kind of site. I really like the packaging for this. It's got like really nice corner sturdy boxes. Seems like that helps it a lot in the shipping process. But I'm excited to open this thing up. It seems to be packed in here pretty well. So as far as the shipping contents and everything, looks like they do a really good job of packing this up safely for transportation. Looks like we got our little goodie box here and some of the accessories. Looks like we've got all of our accessories and whatnot in here. Everything looks good and nice and undamaged. Always nice to see a box arrived. So everything looks good in there so far. Well packaged. I like that. So here it is out of the box. It's a really nice matte orange. Right off the bat, kind of noticing that some of the components on here, like the brakes, has a mechanical versus a hydraulic disc brake, which we would see on a similar priced and style bike from Lectric. But I do really like the color. It seems like it's probably a little heavier. I'm gonna weigh it on the scale and see. They said it's 76 pounds, I believe, on the website, and I'll double check that. All right, let's snip off some of this stuff and see what this thing really looks like. So here it is. All I've done is take it out of the packaging and out of the box. It's a good color. It did turn right on here. It's got a USB-C cable. I don't know if this is a charging cable for just accessories that you have or what that's for. But you don't seem to need the keys to get the bike turned on, only to take the battery out. And it's a semi-integrated battery here. It does have, you know, kind of the no-name brand mechanical, you know, disc brakes there, whereas we do see most of the similar ones get the hydraulic disc brakes from companies like Lectric. It's got a Tourney TX derailleur 7-speed back there, which isn't terrible. That's pretty comparable. These cranks do look a little cheap, but overall pretty similar overall. One of our biggest worries with these is always how good is the company to get parts for when something does go wrong with it. Just making sure that you have a company that you can contact. These bikes that people buy on HSN and that people buy on Amazon a lot of times have very poor customer service. So if something does go wrong with the bike, it stops turning on, the motor stops working. I don't know what the warranty is on this bike, but a lot of the ones that people buy on Amazon, even if it is under warranty or it does get damaged in shipping, there's no way to contact the company. There's no way to tell them what's wrong, get replacement parts, stuff like that. So that's always one of our biggest worries here with bikes like this. But everything turned on right away. It looks good so far, so we're gonna keep proceeding. Sorry, the table's a mess right now, but let's go ahead and open up this accessory box right here and just see what all we get inside of here. So we've got our user manual, little DeLorean activate your warranty on here, so we'll check that out. Looks like you get a bike lock. There's our pedals. Get a mobile phone holder, speaker, get your little toolkit. I think this is the charger there. Here's our quick release lever to put the front wheel on. Looks like it has all the pieces there. And here's our kind of dinky looking front basket, but it is lighter, so that's nice. Nice. All right, it's an interesting seat. It looks like there's some mounting bolts for a little backrest on there. I put some grease in here. They did not include any grease or anti-seize compound or anything for any of this. So that would be something that I would definitely be looking into if I was trying to get one of these and put it together myself here. Lift this guy up. So in the user manual, it does seem like there are some steps for assembly, so make sure you go through all of that. I would definitely put grease on the pedals and on the seat post. Just make sure that you don't get any seizing over time. It doesn't really have anything about adjusting the derailleur or the brakes or anything like that, so it does require a little bit of previous knowledge, or bring it to your local bike shop for them to help you with that. But they do have some good information on troubleshooting and the different settings, storage recommendations, all that good stuff in there. So there is some good stuff in this user manual here. All right, so it does look like there are some minor adjustments that needed to be made to the derailleur back here.
Yeah, that one you had to go home.
Not quite shifting right, but we'll get that dialed in. So there's a little bit of knowledge that you will need just going into this as far as basic adjustments of your bike go to get it working just right. So I just installed the wheel, and pretty typical to these direct-to-consumer bikes, oftentimes they come just rubbing pretty bad, so you can hear that. And not quite as bad on the rear wheel, but definitely rubbing a little bit. All right, and that sounds a lot better now. So with the right tools and, a nice bike stand, didn't take me too long, but if I was doing this in my garage without a bike stand at home, that would have been a little bit frustrating to try and get that really dialed in there. That can be more annoying than anything. It's not going to affect the stopping power too much, but it is going to be just loud. So something to keep in mind when you're deciding whether or not you wanted to build one of these yourself. So got this all put together. The brakes and the gears are now adjusted. I'm just going through and doing kind of a functionality check, making sure that light works. Looks pretty bright. That rear light works. Let's make sure the horn works. Looks good. And we got the throttle. Pedal assist. And I can hear that that's a cadence sensor, not a torque sensor, but seems to be working pretty good. Overall, not a terrible bike. I think that the biggest thing for me is just making sure that you have good communication with whatever company it is that you decide to buy an e-bike from, whether that's DeLorean, Ebike, Lectric, Aventon, Rad Power bikes. Just make sure that you have good customer service, that you can talk to them when there are problems with the bike, because when it comes down to it, that's what's going to make or break having a bike, is whether or not you're going to be able to get it fixed when inevitably something does happen to the bike. But overall, build quality isn't terrible. The welds on this bike can be a little bit ugly, debatable on the color. I like the color. My boss was not a huge fan of the orange, and there are just, kind of some crazy welds on there that not terrible structurally, but just don't look very good. But overall, I think it's a pretty decent bike. It's just going to come down to whether or not that company is going to stand behind their product and get you the parts that you need in a timely manner and in an easy way. But I'm going to go ahead and finish getting the accessories on, and then we'll take it for a quick ride. So I've got this bike all built up. I've got all the accessories on now, minus that back bag. This seems to be pretty cheaply made and kind of flimsy. This feels like an afterthought, this little backrest. It's not very comfortable. Kind of like sits a little bit too low on your back, and it's kind of bugging me. The rack on the front looks okay. It's pretty small, but that probably helps with it being, not folded. I did notice that out of the factory, the bars were pretty crooked. Not a huge deal, but just a couple other notes before I do take it out on a test ride. If you did have that issue, it's just going to be these two screws. Don't worry about folding this down or anything. You'll be able to just use these two 5mm Allen keys, and if you loosen those up, you'll be able to twist that, retighten those, and get that handlebar back to straight. But I'll do that real quick, and then we'll take it for a ride. And the last thing I wanted to do here was just to measure the bike. So I've got my bike scale here. I was having a hard time finding a way to get it up, so I'm going to use one of these bars to try and hoist it up. This is kind of a step-through bar that people use to put their bike on a rack that needs a top bar. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this guy on, and I'm going to weigh this so that we can subtract that. So about 2.3 pounds. So I'll note that down and we'll weigh the bike. Trouble is going to be in finding this balancing point here. So we've got 74.5 pounds. So 72 pounds, and I think that's just about what it said on the website, so that looks pretty accurate. Still about 10 pounds heavier than similar 20-inch fat tire folding e-bikes that we've seen from companies like Lectric. So something to note, it is probably another 10 to 14 pounds more than a lot of these other bikes in a similar category. All right, guys. Taking her out for her maiden voyage. So, nice and fast. Gets right up to 20 miles an hour. The pedal assist works great. I do hear that brake already. Woo! So, for me, from a shop and a consumer perspective, it really comes down a lot to, how am I going to get this bike serviced? I think that the build quality is pretty standard. I do wish it had hydraulic brakes because there are similar bikes at a similar price that do have the hydraulic brakes. But it comes with a good amount of accessories, and right out of the box works, looks good. But really for me, from a shop perspective and from being a consumer, I just want to make sure that when something does go wrong with my bike, that I have the ability to get it fixed, to get it worked on in a timely manner. A lot of the time the bikes from HSN and the bikes from Amazon just don't have great customer service. As someone who works in a shop, That's something that I find pretty often, is that people will come to me and they'll say, hey, like my bike's not turning on, the battery's not working, or holding a charge as long. And when I need to get in contact with the company and they tell me that they bought their bike on HSN or on Amazon, that's usually a reason for concern. So overall, I think it's a decent bike. It looks good, rides fine, but there's some of my thoughts on the DeLorean.